7 things narcissists do when you go no contact. You ready? Let's go. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tamie M. Joyce. I'm the founder of Tamie M Coaching and the creator of the Freedom class and the Ascension class. Please take a second to say hello and introduce yourself in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a new video. So let's talk about 7 things that narcissists do when you finally decide it's time to go full-blown no contact. Number 1, the narcissist is going to gather the troops. That's right. The first thing the narcissist is going to do when you go no contact is work to get everyone they can on their team. Literally, even your own friends and family. They'll run as quickly as they can to anyone who will listen, including, of course, all of their own little minions and spineless little enablers, as well as anyone closely connected to you who will bother to listen. When you go no contact, you can count on the fact that the narcissist is going to be working overtime, calling in the allies, holding court, and saying whatever it takes to manipulate and control not only their perception of you, but also the generally accepted narrative. So be prepared for this up front. When you get serious about setting boundaries with a narcissist, when you shut the door entirely and for real, the narcissist is going to make gathering the troops and collecting allies their full-time job. The purpose of all of this, of course, is to get everyone to agree on just how awful you are and what a victim they are. No matter how much evidence to the contrary, they will hone in on any little thing they can, as well as go so far as to make stuff up if they have to, including telling everyone that you did or said all the terrible things that they, in reality, did and said. And your job in all of this is to get your self-esteem to a place where you don't care at all. Now, I'm not saying this is easy or that it's not going to hurt, but that's the direction you've got to be heading in if you want to break free and heal from this nonsense and insanity in any real and lasting way. Make that your goal. Get yourself to a place where your opinion of yourself is the one that matters most. You know who you are. You know exactly what you've lived, what you've done, what you haven't done, and why. Let that be enough. And all of their little stories, false narratives, distorted perception, and lies by omission, whoever chooses to believe that stuff has to not matter at all. And the truth is, it's quite likely that you're not a perfect human being, and you haven't always done things perfectly or gotten it right. Meaning, in response to being targeted, betrayed, abandoned, abused, harmed, and hurt in all kinds of ways, you may very well have done and said some things you'd absolutely do or say differently if you were given an opportunity for a do-over. Such is the place we find ourselves in when we've been hurt by this kind of emotional manipulator and toxic perpetrator. Here's the thing. Narcissists will quite deliberately hurt, harm, instigate, and provoke so they can trigger an emotional reaction and then point the finger at you. It's called reactive abuse. And if you want to learn more about how narcissists use reactive abuse to gaslight you in this fashion, you can watch this video here. Now, the next thing that narcissists are going to do when you establish no contact is go out of their way to flaunt a new source of supply in front of you. Narcissists aren't just energy vampires. They are also very parasitic and codependent in nature. That's right. You are not the only codependent in the relationship dynamic with the narcissist, I promise you. Narcissists are highly codependent in addition to being very parasitic. They need another person to target, manipulate, use, abuse, and exploit. They need someone they can project all of their own garbage onto. So when you establish no contact, what the narcissist is going to do is either circle back to an ex or any other source of supply they have access to and hoover them back in. And if they can't do that, they'll go looking for a new source of supply and very quickly enmesh with that new supply. And then proceed to flaunt their new source of supply all over town and all over social media in the hopes of getting a reaction out of you. Let's not forget, narcissists tend to be incredibly envious. These are people who carry a lot of jealousy. And in their distorted perception of reality, they project all of their own stuff onto their chosen target, which in this case is you. So they're automatically going to assume that you're wired the same way they are. They're green with envy. They're very jealous by nature. So according to the narcissist, you must be too. So they're flaunting this new source of supply, or an old source of supply, any source will do, not only so they can get their sick narcissistic needs met, but more importantly, so that they can hurt you in the process. Make no mistake, this is absolutely deliberate on their part. In addition, according to the narcissist and their twisted perception of reality, this obviously serves as evidence that you were the one who was the problem in the relationship. If they're in the process of hooking up with someone else and all is well in Never Never Land, according to them, it's clear that you were the one who was the issue to begin with. That's the game that's being played around all of this, which is why it's a really good idea when you go no contact as much as you're able, you go all the way. You don't need to be randomly and unexpectedly punched in the heart with images on social media or anywhere else for that matter. If that means that you don't go to the same places for a little while so that you can avoid bumping into the narcissist and their new sublime, so be it. Do what you need to do. This isn't about fairsies and what's right or wrong. Keep your ego out of it and love yourself enough to take care of yourself and sidestep all of the nonsense. If you're going to do no contact, do it right. Block them across all platforms so when they're working really hard to flaunt that new source of supply, you're immune, bulletproof, and therefore you're not affected because you're taking care of yourself. Number 3, hoovering. The next thing to expect if you've been able to maintain no contact for any length of time is the hoovering tactic the narcissist employs in an attempt to suck you back into the abuse cycle. You can count on this happening. And being prepared in advance is the thing that is going to save you a whole world of pain, drama, and trauma when the time comes. And here's the thing, friends. There's no time limit on the narcissistic hoover. I've personally experienced a number of hoovering attempts after a decade or more of cold, hard, no contact with various narcissistic perpetrators from my past. These folks are both relentless and lazy. It's easier to circle back to an ex 10 years later than it is to get off the couch and go do the work to go out and find a new source of supply, which is the primary reason why they hoover. So when this happens, don't be flattered. This has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them looking to get their own sick needs met through you and at your expense. Nothing more. And if you want to learn more about narcissistic hoovering and more importantly, how to deal with it, you can watch this video here. Now comment below and tell me whether or not you've experienced any of these tactics once you've established no contact. Let me know in the comment section below. And if you'd like to learn more about the possibility of working with me in my 8-week transformational coaching program, the Freedom Class, there's a link in the description below where you can apply to see if you qualify for a free one-on-one consultation with either myself or a member of my team. Now, if they're able to get through to you and succeed with their hoovering attempts, the very next thing coming down the pike is love bombing. This is where we begin the narcissistic abuse cycle all over again, especially if there's been some time and distance. So be clear, this is what's happening. You are being sucked right back into the toxic abuse cycle where you're being idealized before being devalued and then ultimately discarded again. That's the cycle that you're going to be running. Many of you are already familiar with this cycle because it's a pattern you've been living in your romantic lives as well as with friends and at work and probably even your family of origin. It's not only sick, it's really painful. In particular, for those of us who are highly empathic, showing up with the best of intent with these individuals who couldn't care less about our feelings, our well-being, or what's in our best interest. What happens if they can get a toe in the door is suddenly they begin to morph into that person that you needed them to be to begin with, back when you were being abused, before you went no contact out of sheer self-preservation. Now, all of a sudden, they're on their best behavior, and they're doing all the right things, and they're saying all the right things, and suddenly, They know how to apologize. Suddenly, they can show up on time and be decent, kind, and respectful, and show you how much they really care and how very, very sorry they are. And they're making all kinds of empty promises and future faking to the degree that you're willing to fall for the bullshit. And if you've been white knuckling it through the no contact phase, you are quite literally going to get high on this stuff. And the reality is, this is all very temporary. Their best behavior will be a very short-lived phase. If the stakes are real high, you might be able to get a few months of consistent best behavior out of them, but in no time, that mask is going to start to slip. In no time, you are going to enter the devalue phase where you become the target again. In no time, they are going to be blame shifting and projecting all of their own disowned neurosis and psychosis all over you. So understand that if you've allowed that to happen, if you have not maintained firm, non-negotiable, and unapologetic no contact, while also having gotten into your own healing and recovery work, and they've gotten a foot in the door, and now you're standing there and you're on the receiving end of all of this love bombing, the whole cycle starts all over again. And when you realize that it's time to run for the hills again, make no mistake, you will be starting from ground zero. It doesn't get easier over time. In fact, it only gets worse. Our self-esteem takes a bigger hit next time around. It becomes more embarrassing, more painful, more traumatic. The consequences emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, physically, and financially get more and more grave with each relapse on the destructive relationship. So think long and hard before you decide to start falling for the words, the sudden shift and morph into the whole new person who wasn't able to show up before, but suddenly now is more motivated for whatever reason. Think long and hard before you start falling for any of that stuff, because chances are very, very high, extremely high in fact, that there's nothing but more pain and trauma coming your way. Now, if their hoovering and love bombing attempts don't work, if they aren't successful, here's what you can expect. They will lay in waiting, literally bide their time, patiently waiting for an opportunity to exploit you at your weakest. And it's almost eerie how the narcissist can choose their timing, which again is why it's so vital that we do the real healing and recovery work to break free from these dysfunctional patterns. Even when we go no contact, there are invisible energetic cords between us and those that we are trauma bonded to, which is one of the benefits of embarking on a serious healing and recovery journey. When we do the right work, these cords get severed. But the point being, if they can't succeed in hoovering you and love bombing you and pulling you back in, they'll wait for an opportunity to exploit you when you are at your weakest and most vulnerable. And somehow, they seem to have the ability to know when the timing is right, when you are faltering in your determination, when for whatever reason, you're not feeling very strong. Maybe you've had a crisis, or you've lost a loved one, or experienced some kind of misfortune. Given the chance, they'll use this as an opportunity to swoop in and again, exploit that opportunity and you for their own benefit. So be aware that just because you haven't heard from them in a few weeks or a few months or even a few years, this does not mean that they aren't hovering, waiting for an opportunity. Waiting for that time when they are able to catch you with your guard down and when you least expect it. When you're suffering or hurting or struggling in any way. If they can seize an opportunity to exploit you when you are weak and vulnerable, they will do that. Now, assuming that all attempts to hoover and love bomb and suck you back in and exploit you at your weakest and most vulnerable have failed because you're taking excellent care of yourself, you've not only established no contact, but you're going to the next level. You're doing your own personal healing and recovery work. All of your time, energy, and attention and resources are focused on yourself, learning to love yourself, learning to heal yourself, learning how to take excellent care of yourself, learning how to live your best life as your best self, and as a result, you've maintained no contact, and all of their tactics and games and strategies have failed miserably. What you can expect next? is a full-blown smear campaign. And to be clear, this is not the same as gathering the troops, although there is some overlap. The smear campaign is a whole other level. Gathering the troops is, as I said, a question of spreading the narrative and controlling perceptions, right? Getting all the allies over here and making sure the narcissist appears to be the victim and you're the big bad meanie, the bully, or the villain in the equation. A full-fledged smear campaign brings this to a whole other level. They can't get through to you. They can't use you, manipulate you, target you, exploit you anymore. They can't even access you because you're doing all the right things. So now they're going to go after your character, your reputation, and any relationship you have with others that they have influence over. They'll say whatever it takes, no matter how untrue, how cruel, how unkind, or bizarre. No matter what it takes, they will work to assassinate and annihilate your character and, again, your reputation to anyone who will listen. And this can be very painful for those of us who have been on the receiving end of a smear campaign, in particular in the early stages of our healing and recovery journey. It's not an easy thing to have to endure. And this is where doing the real work of healing and recovery and having a solid support system around us can be so vital. We can get to the place where we're pretty freaking bulletproof, but it takes some work. Here's the thing. When the narcissist can no longer control you, access you, target you, manipulate you, they will work to manipulate everyone's perception about you. They'll work to manipulate how everybody sees you, what they think of you, how they feel about you. And I gotta tell you, our job is to get to the place where we can rise above that and be absolutely non-affected. And I've walked that path in many areas of my life, not least of which with my sick family of origin. The kind of projection that these folks are capable of, I've dealt with it in my professional life, I've dealt with it romantically, and I've dealt with it with so-called friends as well as family. When they can no longer control you, manipulate you, exploit you, affect you, siphon your vital life force energy, target you directly, they will work overtime to smear and assassinate your character. The reality is, this is the game they play. And it's daunting, perhaps, to conceive of the fact that this is what I'm going to have to be on the receiving end of. But I say, better that you know in advance what to expect. Expect the worst case scenario and do your work. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself, protect yourself. In doing so, you'll be less likely to be taken out by whatever it is the narcissist has to say, no matter who believes the bullshit. And last but not least, number 7. What you can expect the narcissist to do when you go no contact is they will seek revenge, one way or another. If you've unfortunately put yourself in a position where these folks have any leverage or power over you in any way whatsoever, other than just being able to verbally assassinate your character and smear your reputation to whomever will listen, if they have any power or leverage over you at all, again, if you have put yourself in the unfortunate position where they can actually come after you in any way in an attempt to seek revenge, when they realize that they can't get through to you any other way, chances are good that they will look for opportunities to get even. I mean, how dare you draw a line in the sand or say no more, right? No more abuse, no more bullying, no more lying, no more projecting, no more blame shifting, no more dirty little secrets or dirty big secrets, no more insults, no more criticism, no more deception, manipulation, or triangulation. How dare you say no more to all the crazy-making insanity that they bring to the table? So, if they have the opportunity and they know that they can't get anywhere with regards to breaking through that barrier of no contact that you have firmly established and aren't going back on, it's game over, we're done. If they can seek revenge, they're going to do that. So know that in advance and do whatever you need to do to take away that leverage, to take away that power, and to protect yourself and anyone else in your care and in your charge from their attempts to seek revenge. And do it in advance. Get ahead of them in every possible way and stay there. In the end, you'll be glad you did. And on that note, I'm going to call it a wrap. But before I do, I have a special announcement to make. You might be interested to know that the Ascension class is launching this spring, and I'm so beyond excited to bring you this next level of growth, expansion, and evolution. That is this 8-week transformational coaching program. If you want to go deep with me into the work of reinventing yourself after narcissistic abuse, then this is for you. Be sure to click the link in the description below to apply to see if you qualify for a free one-on-one consultation with either myself or a member of my team.